So the game could be like The Magician and Ocular Paradigm. It could be like their game, like it could be centered around The Magician and OP. It could also be called the Strive game, like the Strive song. Virtual worlds have existed before, but we could run some sort of a god program on there. Like that song. Can I strive, can I strive, can I stand?
Can I strive, can I strive?
So it would be like The Magician and OP. There's already been virtual worlds that have existed before, but we could run a god program. There could be gifts and things. It could be about the human imagination, a very ethereal, sort of airy, sort of bright light, very heavenly game idea. It could be based around the idea of heaven and hell, the idea of nighttime and daytime, the material world. There could be ingredients. We could have real physical ingredients in the world. Things like acidity regulation, things like that. Things like sandwiches and things. There could be idea about vision. The human imagination, innovation in the real world could be implemented. Shops and companies could have buildings and things. There could be shops and things. A unique design idea and avatars. There could be time perception, could be different within the game. You could click to move from place to place in a chat box for adults. You could swear. Designed so beautifully that you could act. You could have high technology designs in there. You could design it with high technology. You could have movement like real life. You could hit the other characters. You could sit down like this. You could put some of my dance moves in there so your character can do one of my wiggles. You can do movement. You can hit the other characters. You can dance with the other characters. You can laugh as well. Your character might be able to laugh. But at the same time, it's very different from other virtual worlds that have existed. Things like Club Penguin and stuff like that. You could have famous people on there. They could get badges to say that they're famous. You could verify their accounts. It would be like advanced, high technology, intelligent social media, but with real life avatars. Things like ingredients, like materials, things like road tar, like Avatar, silk and things. You could have woven fabrics, interwoven silk and things, interwoven threads. There could be communities. You could have objects. You could have the mind and the body separate in the game, so that you could have your mind in one bit. It's how I'm imagining it or designing it in my head, that the mind and the body are separate. You could have weapons in the game, so you can be tortured and things, like in your head. Your character's mind could be separate. There would be custom characters and bodies. We could have characters like in the song Razzing. We could be lobsters. We could all be lobsters. I was thinking, because in the song Razzing I say, boil me up, salt my bath, I'm a lobster baby, boil me up, I won't jump. So we could be lobsters in the game, like a game where everyone is a lobster. Excuse me. You could have things like mind control in there. There could be weapons in the game, like I said. There could be events, things like on Halloween. You could have it Halloween themed the whole time, so it could be a heavenly Halloween horror themed game. You could put masks and things, coronavirus masks. You could do sickness and mental illness. Some of the characters could be mad. There could be, oh my god, so-and-so is online and he's famous, or so-and-so is online and they're famous. Rooms and things that I would specifically, only I would design these. They could have badges, or badges if you're a doctor in the real world. Wherever you work, you could say, I work here. You could have jobs and things. Obviously, it would make a lot of money. You could have sun cycles, so cycles of the sun, like nighttime and daytime. It could be very picturesque, a very beautiful, modern designed game that can use high technology to design it. You could have unique perceptive experiences within the game. If you don't wear glasses, you could not be able to see. You might have it might be blurry one day. One day you could have some sort of a transition effect on it, yeah. You could have beautiful, beautiful designs and things where it will go through this motion capture technology and things like that. You could do that. You could do singers, you can do performances, like you could have a microphone inside the game. People could contribute in a sort of democratic governmental way, on a certain social media way, if it's just a chat box and everyone's in the room. And it's freedom of speech as well, you have freedom of speech. You could be like falsely hackable, so your mind could be hackable in the game, but it's a feature within the game to hack somebody else, and it's like protected and things. You could have clothes and things. Oh my god, Dennis is online, and you can have a process in the registration where it verifies you and who you are. Oh my god, Dennis is online. It could be moderated. You could have a room just for famous people or people of certain life states. If you're, for example, if you have any sort of social stature or you've done political things in the world, you could have a certain type of state or badge. Or you could have, it's like a social media website, it's financed and coded. It could be financed and coded. You could things like that. You could have things like oppression in the game. You could have oppressed states, people who are more oppressed. You could have some sort of police idea, telepathy videos in the game. You could have how people are treated. You could have, it would be my music in game. It would be things, you could have coffins and spirits and personification of spirits. You could have, when you look at a piece of paper for ages in the sun, and you're all like the sun or the light is on my body right now, you could have that within the game. You could have, when you look at a piece of paper and then the light changes, you could have like, your vision could change, the way that the game looks. It would be beautifully, beautifully designed. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yes, you do. It's an understanding. It's an understanding. You could have doctors and things, like I said, white paper. There could be something about the texture of things, about the texture. You could have texture to your speech. It's like life, but visual in front of you, and you just have to use a computer and click. It would be based on my life and my life story, and you could see the parts of my life or whatever that have changed, and how like I've gone through my life at different stages. You could have things like childhood and things like that. It's like a very advanced, intelligent version of a virtual world that's never happened and never will happen unless it comes from me. Vivid, very vivid, it becomes brighter and you get that greeny sort of bluish glow. And I know how exactly we would design these things and have these sort of things. Oh my god, Dennis is online, like that would be the craziest thing ever. You could run people's art in the games. You could have scripts for their characters or avatars and their drawings and paintings. You could have a blog for news about it. You could have torture weapons, like I said. Mind and body are separate in the game. It would have a beautiful, use your imagination. It would have the most astonishing advanced technology to design it on paper or whatever. It seems like it's a very advanced idea. You could have things like photosynthesis and scientific qualities. You could have things like light and things. The human body, it could be overlaid over itself. Everything in the book, you could say, oh, this is for the game. The feelings, you could have different feelings and emotions. You could observe people. You could observe people at a distance. You can have things like distance. You can have, speaking with my legs. In the book it says, speaking with my legs, the best of you. So this is the best of me. Is that on the internet? K. Constant. Next up, the metric tensor. Our sentence is nature. It could have things about people's nature. It could have things like eclipses. You could base it on astrology and things like the moon. You could have things like gravity, the weight of disease and things like that, and how these things affect you in the real world. Cognition, REM. You could have the moon and things. You could have the chorus at a certain point in the game. The thought of it, and there it is, the constant. Wisdom is great. You could have things like wisdom. You could give people gifts and wisdom. Everyone gets a piece of the pie. That's the puppet. Little guess, because of the money, you were distributing it with everybody. It would have equal distribution, languages and things like that. Can you colour us? Equating. Invent a meal. So you could have things like meals. if something is in a box like this window and the light, you could have time travel and telepathy, all these advanced futuristic ideas. It would be based on my life and all my experiences. So everything that I've spoken about, you could have things like a clock. I do this dance with a clock where I go like that. You could have a clock, you could have time perception, you could go backwards and forwards in time. You could play, you could have drugs like acid in the game. Things like that. Well, I don't know. That's a stupid idea, but you could have stuff. It would be like tripping. It's like tripping. It's like an acid game. It's an acid game. but not. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. Like, you can disregard what I just said. You can disregard that. But that's just an idea of what the design for it in your mind. It could be designed on the basis of people's actual brains. You could have brains in it. You could have a visual room of the brain, and the rooms could be different parts of the brain. And those different parts of the room, different parts of the brain could have different sort of like meanings and things. Like, you think about the brain, there's the hypothalamus, so you could go to the hypothalamus room, and you could have, I'm obviously using my hypothalamus when I'm talking about this. So what does the hypothalamus do? So releasing hormones. You can have, for transgender people, you can have hormones, body temperature, you can have hunger, you can have circadian rhythms, fatigue, thirst. You could even have attachment behaviours. And I've programmed these sorts of games before, and I know that it's awfully easy if the right people were there, the right coders, the right people, that this would be a really, really good idea.